Number 2, drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Stay.
Now you're more fluent.
He got 3!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Texas Rangers with the Boys. We are the Boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. And hey, we want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, aka YBK, Kevin Frazier. And man, oh man, well, we are where we are. We still, though we will not defend our World Series championship this year, we are still the reigning and defending World Series champs from 2023. That banner hangs forever. And, you know, it hasn't been a terrible season overall. It's been an angsty season, but I feel like there's a lot of positive things left for this team going into the rest of the season. We're not out of playoff contention mathematically, but I think it's time the Rangers start to look towards 2025 and see what kind of things they can do to get this team ready for another deep playoff run. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about some pitching. We're going to talk about some some scores and some stuff. We're going to talk pitching and some stuff. That's what we're going to talk about. And the biggest free agent signing probably in the history of the Texas Rangers. Maybe not who you think it is. We'll talk about that too. So before we get into any of that, don't forget to check us out on social media, TX Rangers WTV. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
Yeah, all one word.
And you can find us right here on the Sports Fluent Network on YouTube. Just search Texas Rangers with the Boys. We will pop up, and you can watch our made-for-TV beards on YouTube. So also you can also big shout out to our farmhands who follow us on our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys. Joining me as always, my co-host, the 300-pound manimal, aka Bull. How you doing, buddy? And where can they find you on those socials?
No, I'm doing good. Manimal Bull on Twitter, Instagram, Manimal300, both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. Weird weekend of baseball for the Rangers. I thought that it was fun weekend. We saw the debut of Rocker. We saw the season debut of Jacob deGrom. Something happened in deGrom's pitch that never happened in Ranger history, or in his outing that never happened in Ranger history before. So we'll talk about that maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just fun. Scherzer back. I didn't think he'd make it back this year. I didn't think he had anything reason to come back this year. I didn't know if he'd ever grip a baseball really. So good to see him back. Hopefully things are going a little bit better for him than most people that are coming off of these back surgeries with the neuropathy and stuff like that. Maybe it's going away a little bit because it does have a tendency to do that. So good for Scherzer getting back on the hill. We saw Leiter behind him. Not exactly Andrew Heaney's best outing of the season, but would it have mattered anyways with the one base runner and the 27 batters the Rangers sent to the plate on Sunday? So interesting week of baseball, lots to come. We're going to see another another Rocker start this week against Toronto, and I imagine we'll see another deGrom start right behind it next weekend. What is Seattle's here next weekend? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So so we're gonna see it. Just have fun with it. Enjoy the fact that we're still playing baseball, and it's September. I can't believe there's only 10 or 12 games left in the season. 12 after tonight or whatever. It seems
2 more weeks. 2 weeks.
It seems unbelievable. We wait for it all winter long, and then the summer just flies by every year, So we got a couple of weeks left of baseball this year. Rangers probably aren't going to be a playoff team yet. I think their magic number for them to be eliminated by the Astros is 4, if I'm not mistaken. So, or maybe it's 2. I mean, it might be 2. So, Tuesday could be done by Tuesday, but that's not really what, we're going to talk about baseball regardless of what happens score-wise, and we'll be right back here on October 1st, regardless of what happens with the Rangers finales as we go down through the rest of the season. So, Love baseball, love talking baseball, and always a good time to, talk about the Rangers whenever they've got some of these good pitchers starting to make their way back.
Well, you talked about October 1st. I think there's also something going on October 18th.
Yeah, October 18th is going to be the 2-year anniversary of Matt War Pro. So 2YA, not CYA. So 2YA on Friday, October 18th. It's going to be a big time, a 4-way dog collar match for the Trinity River Heritage title. Is going to be a big time. Damo McCullough, Brick Savage, and the Dante Leone and Smiley are all four going to be chained to each other, and the winner of the match is going to take home the Trinity River Heritage title. So come on out for the wrestling, stay for the food. There's going to be a food truck on site. Always going to have good food at Matt War Pro. And our friends at Starry's Ice Cream will be there with all the delicious ice cream treats. And really, like me and Kevin talk about it all the time, probably the best ice cream in Tarrant County. If you want it delivered, she'll deliver it to you. Get you some Starry's ice cream. It's really good. It's the best stuff in town. Me and Kevin both love it. And all the people that come out to Matt War Pro all get some Starry's ice cream. So come on out. It's Martin House Brewing Company. They're going to be the hosts. So they'll have all the beers on tap, in stock for you to take some home if you want to. But Friday, October 18th, 2YA. Matt War Pro, 2nd year anniversary show. Come on out, have a big time with Matt War Pro, Martin House Brewing, and your boys from Texas Rangers with the boys.
Your boys with Texas Rangers with the boys. Well, all right. So I made reference to the biggest free agent signing in Texas Rangers history. It seems
revisiting A-Rod.
Seems a little overplayed, but the value of an organization doesn't start on the field. It starts at
bringing Nolan back.
It starts at the top. It starts with who is your owner and what are they trying to do with this team. If you're in Pittsburgh, or in and even though they're playing good this year, I guess Milwaukee, or we know who those teams are. If you're in those teams in those cities where your ownership is not necessarily trying to build a perennial champion, you do what you got to do. You got to just love baseball. But Texas Rangers have an owner that wants to see baseball, this become a major baseball town, wants to see this thing become as big as it can possibly be. And in order to do that, you need the right guy at the helm, running operations. You need the right general manager. And the Rangers brought in Chris Young a couple of years ago, and he turned right around and got us two of the best players in all of baseball. Turned right around after that, got us one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And then in the last 3 years, we've seen our first-round draft picks make it to the major leagues in said 3 years. So I would say Chris Young has been probably the best thing that's maybe ever happened I would say it is that's ever happened to this organization. Brought Bruce Bochy on, and we were nervous. I was nervous because I was like, man, what are we doing not giving this guy a contract? Well, Chris Young gets a contract extension. Not only that, he gets a promotion. I don't know the details of the deal.
Baseball. Yeah, no, it really hasn't been stated really. I think I saw 3 years, though. I'm not sure if that's right or not. But
man,
yeah, a little sweat off the brow. Everybody was kind of starting to get worried about, was CY going to be back with the Rangers? Hey, I wouldn't have been shocked if they were grooming CY to be the next commissioner of baseball. So, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, he's a well-stated guy, and he's a smart dude that's got an Ivy League background and Ivy League education. So I wouldn't have been shocked if that would have been the next move for CY. I'm certainly glad it's not. I'm certainly glad that it is right back here with the Texas Rangers trying to help us get back to the championship next year and putting together a championship level ball club this offseason. So, we'll see what happens. He's only going to be as strong as the things around him, right? I mean, you've only your options around you if you don't have money to spend. You're going to end up in the same spot as you did this year again. But we'll just kind of see what happens. The Rangers are in a little bit better spot this year. They've kind of know what they need and know what they have, whereas last year with the maybe a little bit of fool's gold coming out
Mhm.
of off of a championship season, and then also there's the fact that a lot of these guys that had down seasons this year could definitely rebound and get themselves back into a position to be a viable Major League Baseball player again next year. I mean, I'm talking about Jonah Heim and Ed Dallas Garcia and a handful of these young guys that were pretty good last year for the pretty good to very good last year for the championship team and not very good at all this year. So, we've seen it from a lot of guys, and the onus has definitely been on Heim more than any other player. But at the same time, man, when you're talking about young guys like that, we'll see what happens. You can't just give up on them, and especially while you, what's the term, own them.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but CY, I think it's going to be great to have him back. He's been great for the organization. I'm not one of those guys that was like John Daniels was terrible for the Rangers or anything like that. I think John Daniels did a pretty good job here and did a great job over the first handful of seasons that he was here and got them in positions to win games. And then it just the moves didn't work the second time around. Like I think that's really kind of what happened with like Lucroy and a handful of moves that they made, Garza and Dempster, and moves that just didn't work for them, and it ended up being, it fell on his head because he's the guy that makes those moves and whatnot. But see why so far everything's went pretty well. I mean, I can't even really say that because 40 man has been crazy since he took over. It's been crazy since at least for the last 2.5 years now. Their 40 man roster has been kind of crazy, trying to keep guys, sneak guys through all of that stuff. So they'll get into a position to where it's easier to manage whenever they get to a spot where they've got most of their prospects to the point where they're either at Rule 5 or major league ready. So we'll just kind of follow that as the season goes on. But the Rangers are going to have lots of guys that move off of the 40 man this year at the end of the season, and CY is going to have another spectacular offseason of trying to figure out how to make that 40 man as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah, I'm just glad to get him here, and glad to know that we have some consistency in terms of just leadership, because the infrastructure, it's just nice to know what you got. And I don't think changing regimes over and over and over again necessarily really works anywhere. All of your great runs for any team have always been teams that have consistency from the top down, especially in terms of like presidents of operations and scouting, and then then it goes on down to the coaching. And I think what I would love to hope or think is that the Rangers have not only this like we see coaching trees and in football all the time, but I would love to see the Rangers kind of have a string of coaches that kind of follow along in the kind of Bochy kind of coaching tree. And then same in Chris Young, as he moves up and he starts to bring in other people, that same philosophy can kind of hang around for a decade or so, because that's how you're going to build a dynasty,
Well, and if you look at how the Rangers did with managing, from the Ron Washington, really Buck Showalter before Ron Washington, right? I mean, the Rangers were always pretty well known for having a good baseball man at the helm, and really outside of a couple of years with Woodward here, the Rangers have done a really good job of keeping kind of old school baseball mentality at the forefront of their clubhouse, whether it be Showalter, Washington, Bannister, or Bochy. Really the only exception on that was Woodward. And I mean, you noticed how everybody just loved the game of baseball whenever he was in town.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough, but we made it through, and now we're in a spot where I think, even though we're going to probably, no matter what, finish somewhere around 500 below or right close to it.
Yeah, something like that.
But I really think the Rangers are in a good position to come back really strong next year. Have pretty much a core all back together in terms of the lineup. They can add a little. They probably definitely need to add some firepower. You found out a lot about some of your minor league players this year, so that was a good thing. Getting healthy on that end, and then of course bringing back the pitching that they've got. Getting healthy. I think the Rangers are in a good spot to definitely continue during this Seager, Simeon, DeGrom window. And really that window is starting with Josh Young and Wyatt Langford, Jack Leiter, and as we're going to talk about here in just a second, Kumar Rocker. And so Rangers have a lot to be excited about. We're excited. We're not down on the team because
we gotta tell them about the bad news, right? Though before we get into the good fun news about Corey Seager having that sports hernia.
It's bad news, but it's also good news that we're not doing it.
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's better to do it now in September than in December.
We should have done the same thing last year.
Yeah, but, it sounds like, same injury.
Yeah, you know what's funny about, not funny, I don't know if funny is the right word.
Probably not.
The strange thing about it is that it's last year he had a hernia. And so like this is 2 hernias in 2 years. And what's interesting about that is, we know him as such an explosive individual. Like he is one of the most explosive athletes I've ever seen. I mean, the way he can get around on a fastball, the way he can kind of torque his body and all that stuff. I mean, it's just honestly like from a kinesiological, physiological point of view, like you just don't see athletes like Corey Seager very often that can do the things that he does. And one of the things that comes along with being a very explosive athlete, especially like in weightlifting, football, and those types of sports, is that when you're really explosive, you can pull stuff really, really like it. You can just randomly pull things because you're just so twitchy. And Seager is extremely twitchy, and he's a big dude, and it doesn't shock me that he's getting hernias because again, this guy is. He's a very I said,
so much torque through much torque through that midsection all the time. And another guy that had this same injury with the Rangers was Josh Hamilton, and very similar, a big dude with a ton of torque through the midsection when he swings the bat. And really honestly, as much as they're nothing like each other as players, Josh Hamilton and Corey Seager are very similar players. They're both big dudes, 6'4", 6'5", up in the 220, 230, 240 range. So you understand you understand that like how a guy that is that big can have these kind of problems. And it is, and you've got most of those guys are going to have a longer midsection than your average person, being 6'5". Where you run into different issues that you wouldn't run into if you're say 5'10".
Right, absolutely. Well, we hope we want to get him on the mend, get that surgery done.
Yeah. February will be here before you know it.
Yep. So I don't know if we got any other real news.
Chase Anderson, right? And not the guy that was up with him. He cleared waivers. Selected free agency. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago on why Chase Anderson was the move. It was for this. Yep. So whenever they have DeGrom or Rocker or whoever ready to come up, that they're not really that sad about Chase Anderson leaving. I don't think anybody in the Rangers fandom is that sad about it. And there's about a handful of other guys that could get the same treatment, and the Rangers fans would probably feel nothing about it. I mean, there's a couple of guys in the bullpen, and there's some guys, that's the way it is right now. So overall, Anderson, he's one of those guys that I don't think anybody thought he was going to be there very long. He was there to eat innings in bad situations, and that's what he did.
Well, good riddance. I told you when I saw him coming against the Yankees, I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, he wasn't ever awful. He just never was good either.
Yeah, just he's a white flag. Well, I Well,
It's
we're
like if he were like you trying to figure out a lady, he would definitely be a red flag pop up. If you're like, oh, Chase Anderson's on her fantasy team.
mm,
Ooh,
mm,
ooh.
mm,
Oh,
no,
how'd that happen? Ooh, oh,
mm,
whoa, not even a fantasy team, a real baseball team. Oh, Chris Young.
yeah.
Whoa, red flag. Anyways, go on.
Well, let's do let's kind of move along here. So we're gonna have some stuff to talk about as far as pitching and stuff. We brought up Rocker, we brought up Leiter, we brought up Langford, we've brought
I
up
know where
Josh.
those guys came from.
Absolutely, these guys were farm hands for the Texas Rangers, draft picks for the Texas Rangers, and these guys are all players that are going to be making a contribution in 2025 and are making a contribution right now in 2024. And if you want to hear about who the next guys coming up through the system are, you should check out our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys, where we cover all things Rangers minor league. We do a little format as of late where we just take the top 10 players in the farm system and we talk about them. And then usually they're from a different level somewhere. So we'll get you all around the farm system. And then once we get into the off season here in really like no time, I think in a week or so, we'll be into the off season, and then we'll be doing deep dives of each level. We'll talk about who the best position players and the best pitchers were at each level. And, honestly, there's so much to talk about when it comes to this minor league system, because you're talking about teams of, 25, 30 guys on 7 levels. So, and then you're talking about draft picks, and then you're talking about, more than that. So there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about it all off season. So if you want to come jump on board and be one of our farm hands, just go to our website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
Or you can just go to Spotify right away, click that subscribe button. It's just $1.99 a month. You make us your one-stop shop for all things Rangers, organization-wide. Go check it out. A lot of fun. We have fun. Our farm hands have fun. And speaking of farm hands, we are in the throes of our fantasy baseball playoffs, and it is the first round right now. And as of tomorrow, we will know the brackets of who's going to be playing in the second round.
Against us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a bye week.
Yeah.
A bye week, and the Ranger Nukes have a bye week. Interesting about the Ranger Nukes is this guy picked almost all Rangers, even if it is a detriment to his draft status. He picked guys in wrong, he drafted guys in positions.
Well, they're really good in fantasy.
Well, what's funny is it worked out really good for him because he bet on all the good Rangers for the year, and it looks like things have gone pretty well for him. So he's the other bye week, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's looking like I'm going to be. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow when we don't have as much to talk about. Also, tomorrow we're going to talk about what we think the Rangers need to do from here, because we pretty much know we're out of contention for the playoffs. So what do we do from here now that we're all locked in with CY? Now that we kind of know what this season is going to be, what do we need to do to get prepared for the offseason and for 2025? And I definitely think we'll have differing opinions, which is why this show is fun.
Well, I was going to say real quick, Kev, I got a little farm note.
Oh, give me the note.
This week would have been, had we been able to get a show in because of the travel. We didn't get a show in this week, but had we gotten a show in, we would have had our first ever repeat number 1 on the top 10 list.
Wow.
Because Sebastian Walcott moved up to Frisco and just looks like a man amongst boys, amongst men that are 5 years older than him, at least. I mean, kid's 18 up there just mashing at Double-A. He's going to help that thing win a Texas League championship, and we may even do a little preview of the Texas League playoffs tomorrow. Just if nothing else, give you the starters and where the games are at, and how you can get out to Frisco and watch a game or two. And one more real quick minor league note: the Riders have moved Dane Acker to the closer role.
Wow.
And a lot of people have been saying that his best way to the major leagues is through a relief role. So maybe they're finding out if Dane Acker could be in the big leagues next year and worth putting on that 40-man just as a reliever right now.
Let him air it out a little bit. See what looks like.
So far, so good too.
What's that?
So far, so good too.
I mean, I like Dane Acker. I feel like he's a guy that we're gonna look back and possibly go. I say possibly because you really never know. But the makeup,
you never do know.
Yeah, you never know. But the makeup for him is really he's a guy I'm very optimistic about. So,
and he's probably not sliding through Rule 5 again this year.
No. Too many teams need pitching, and he will.
And you can't showcase him as a lights-out closer here at the end of the season and then expect him to jump through. They did the same thing with Justin Slayton last year, and you saw how that ended.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
He's the setup man in Boston now, and absolute
for a playoff caliber team. Yeah,
an absolute monster. So, all right, well, let's talk about what transpired since the last time we spoke. So we have to get started with obviously the hottest. It's hard to say which is the hottest topic because DeGrom and Rocker are 1A, 1B, and you don't know who's who in terms of who's a hotter topic right now. But let's start with Rocker because he pitched first, as advertised.
Yeah, 7 Ks, 20 whiffs. I mean, everything you could have asked for. The sliders. Like, what do they call? Like the guys they call it a murder ball. Like his slider. That's how good it is.
What's funny is he says it's a curveball, and I was thinking
he throws it like a curveball. And it makes sense considering he's a guy that throws 100 miles an hour, and then the curveball is like 85 instead of a slider that would probably be somewhere around like 91, 92, like DeGrom's slider is. So, because DeGrom's slider is like almost a cut fastball, like it's, but you can tell he's breaking the wrist and he's just a freak. So it's not like he's not like anybody else. So you can't like compare him to other people. And like Rocker's kind of that same way where he's throwing an 85 mile an hour curveball. I mean, that's not normal. I mean, even Nolan Ryan didn't have 85 on his curveball, Right. So it's an interesting piece, and that's why it probably plays as a slider on most StatCast, whatever they call that, analytics or whatever. But I thought it was everything that I was hoping for. And let's be real honest, he should have had 8 Ks and no runs because he struck Justin Turner out on the pitch before. And he didn't get the call. So that ball was there. That ball was right there. Corner. Everything you asked for from a starting pitcher. I guess Justin Turner in his 50 years of playing baseball in the league got a little bit more respect than Kumar Rocker on his Major League Baseball debut. But, I mean, other than that, first inning, he gave up a couple of singles that kind of found their way through, and then 2 strikeouts and a pop-up later, and he's out of that inning. And he struck out Cal Raleigh there in the first inning on a really, really nice pitch. And the second inning, that at bat against their 9-hole hitter, the kid that swung at 2 slider, like he took a slider. And then he threw the slider in the same spot 2 times in a row after that, on the same one that he just took, and he swung at both of them. And, I mean, just swords galore from Kumar Rocker the other night. I mean, everybody looked a little fooled by him. And even the guys that got the hits there early in the game were forcing fastballs. Didn't let him get into a position to get him with the murder ball or whatever. But overall, I was really impressed by Kumar Rocker. I was also impressed by the Rangers' ability last night to not give up on that game, even though they had some bad relief work right there behind Rocker and come back and get a W in that game. Young and Simeon really kind of been carrying this thing offensive wise. And I think we looked at it and there's 4 guys on the Rangers team right now that's hitting. Simeon.
You got Lowe, you got Simeon, Langford, and Tavares are the guys that are over 800 ops. But as far as Rocker goes, when we brought up 81 miles an hour when he's off of a 97, 95, 97, 99 or whatever, Immediately who I thought of was Pedro Martinez because, granted, these guys are totally different in their delivery, but the numbers are the same. Martinez had like a 97 mile an hour fastball, and then he had like an 81, 82 mile an hour curveball, and it was just brutal for guys to have to change speeds at 10 miles an hour. And then he threw a 70 something mile an hour changeup. So when you got a guy moving 25, 30 miles an hour difference on 3 pitches, it's just deadly. And I think with Rocker, I want to say he threw a changeup like in the 3rd or 4th inning. He actually
the second time around he started throwing a couple more.
I know.
I believe he has a cutter as well that he's going to
he
add
does.
to that
whenever
he gets to starting to see batters 3 times. Probably won't be this season where we see him face hitters a 3rd time around, but everything was good. I mean, he could have gotten them another inning, maybe 2, depending on if he had 100 pitch count, but he doesn't right now. You're talking about 60 to 75 pitches coming off of Tommy John. You're trying to do everything in your power to make sure he hits surprise in February with every bit of health that he can possibly have. And one more thing real quick. Did you see that Kumar Rocker, the first player of Indian descent to ever play in Major League Baseball? That's cool.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought that was pretty cool. And what I also really loved was getting to see his parents at his first game. What's funny? That first inning when he gave up those 2 back-to-back hits, that was it was the you could see it on their face, but it made it even more sweet when he came back and mowed him down and got out of the inning. And what's weird, bro, this is the first time. Like, I've watched Rocker. I've seen him a dozen times, maybe. I don't know, maybe not even that
I
many.
might have slipped away to Frisco a couple of times earlier.
Yeah, but I've watched a good portion of him on video, and this is the first time I've seen anybody get the ball in the air on him. That first hit was a roller through the middle, and then they had the opposite field. He had the opposite field hit for the next guy. And then Justin Turner got him on that homer. And the funny part was, that was the first time I'd seen Rocker, somebody put him in the air even.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Justin Turner is a professional's professional too.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
If anybody's going to do it, it's that guy that's going to do it. But, yeah, I mean, again, though, that same at bat, though, he threw strike 3 and just didn't get that call too.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that, but Rocker has a good night, and then they get the W in his first game as a major leaguer. Rangers.
A lot of 5-4 games in this series, huh?
Yeah. They pull out the late game heroics there on that one. I'm trying to go back in history because it was like last week that happened. But see, how did the Rangers pull out 3 runs in the top of the 8th there to get that? And I'm trying to figure out how that happened. Was it you had the home run by Young, you had the homer by Lowe, and then Simeon
those solo shots, and then Simeon
3 solo shots. I'm sorry, the 2 solo shots. Go ahead.
And then didn't Simeon have a 2-run home run?
He did.
I feel like Josh Smith maybe scored that 5th run, or maybe drove it in. I can't remember. I mean, for having a dismal second half of the season, he's had some bright spots too.
You have the ground out where Dallas had the ground out, and then Josh Smith scored.
Yeah,
and Lowe's hit a single, and then Langford scored. So that was the 2 runs that they got was the ground out, then the homer, the ground out, and then the
3 solo. Yeah, it was 3 solos because there wasn't anyone on in front of Simeon because I'm pretty sure he let off that inning. Now that I'm thinking back,
Daniel Lowe over the last week he's slashing 450, 540, 750 for 1,300 OBS. He's the hottest hitter.
That's crazy though. That where's it been? None of that power showed up until the last week of the season.
Yeah. And remember, he started late too. Remember, he was
he was on the 15 day to start, and his highlight of the first 3 months of the season was getting hit by that pitch in that Anaheim game that went like 20 innings because no one could score.
Yeah. Well, that's how it went on Thursday, and then we had Jacob DeGrom on Friday, and
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, he was pretty good and rated himself as pretty average. So
it
I'll
was
take it.
cool just to have those guys pitching back to back. I would say the baseball world's eyes were on the Rangers for that
Well, at
48
least New York, the Mets fans their eyes were on us for a little while, going, man, if we had these three guys, this playoff push would be a lot nicer.
And then you have now you have my Francisco Lindor, where Julio Rodriguez is getting hot for my fantasy team. On that same team, I've got Lindor, and I'm not sure if he's going to finish. He's going to play another game this season. But Rangers,
Hey, real
behind
quick, did you see that Louis Angel Acuna made his major league
it
debut?
because of
Yeah, so
this.
congratulations to him, man. Good for him, and he got a base knock in his first game. So, good luck to him. I mean, he'll always be a part of a deal that brought a world championship to the Rangers. So
Yep.
there'll always be a lot of love, at least in my world, for Acuna, because he brought us back that piece that really put us over the top to get us there.
I 100% agree,
And
man.
the same things to JC too. Made his debut for the Cardinals. Had a couple of hits and RBI and stuff. So good on those kids, man. Good to see them making the big leagues. We knew they were big league ball players. We had a lot of high expectations on both JC and Acuna. So good for them. And I'm sure Takeo Roby's not too far behind.
Right, and you're right. We did have high expectations for those guys. Well, Jacob DeGrom, honestly, just as electric, man. He was humming it out there at 99. He was just nasty, and location was good. Didn't walk anybody. Gave up a handful of hits over his 3 1/3. Once he hit his pitch count, he was out. But I mean, you can't say anything. You can't say anything but good things about him during his 3 2/3.
I also want to talk about how good Walt Pittington was the other night too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We got more important things to talk about than Walt Pittington. But yeah, man, DeGrom was everything you were hoping that he would be. Just come out, get the dust off, or the rust off, or whatever you want, whatever the case may be. Get out there, get back in a big league game, face big league hitting, not just a bunch of minor league kids or whatever, but see where he's at as far as things are going and progressing, and everything looks fine to me. I'm no mechanics expert, but man, that guy dots the same spot with every pitch, he just, everything's out of the same arm slot and the arm look like he's amazing, dude. It's really like there's nothing I've ever seen like him in my life. And it's crazy to think that the guy that pitched for him the night before is a 24-year-old that has that same kind of possibilities.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have. That arm slot is different a little bit with Rocker, but everything else is the same.
Yeah, man. I don't know how to quantify how just explosive those guys are. And I mean, when you think about this team, we were just talking about Corey Seager. And we would be remiss not to talk about Wyatt Langford, who did have a home run in this game. In the DeGrom start, another guy who's just seems to be blistering everything. The Rangers just have a lot of talent on this team, and getting to see DeGrom come back. I mean, all we want to do is just make sure he stays healthy, and we can have him for 30 starts next year. And
right. I mean, isn't that the same thing like we just talked about with Rocker, is making sure that these guys get to surprise, healthy, happy, whatever the case may be, and ready to pitch next year? Because man, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we just want our guys to be healthy when they go out there. Rangers lose a heartbreaker in this one.
Robertson gives up 3-run job to Julio Rodriguez there at the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to get mad about that.
I'm not going to get mad at Robertson over anything in a season like this. He's been fantastic. Him and Yates have been everything we could have ever asked for. So, yeah, there's no he definitely gets the 3 outs a lot more often than he gives up 3 runs. So, but Robertson's still good.
And Robert Rodriguez is just on a heater right now, and so he caught him, and
yep. Yep. The
Nice
same
moment.
thing happened to Leiter the next night, Good, like,
Mhm.
but anyways, we're talking about but I thought, real quick, Walt Pennington, who we were kind of down on his first couple of outings because he got put in some really crappy positions.
Awful.
Yeah, yeah, but when he's gotten out there and he's had a real chance and a fighting chance, he's been real good. And if you look at it, I mean, his ERA is sub 2, and he's doing the best he can. And you know, not really a guy that we've really talked about or thought of as a guy that might be in the rotation next year. But he's a guy that could be thought about for the rotation next year, being a left-hander, and But I think he's definitely got a real option of making this team next year as a bullpen guy for sure.
Yeah, and to have that earned run average at where it's at, considering how it started for him, I think is kind of
Most of the time, the other 3 runs belong to someone else.
right. I mean, he's kind of backing up what you were saying. I mean, he had got like trial by fire, but and then he got sent down, and then he came back up, and he hasn't gone back down because he's been the most reliable lefty out
Out
of the
of the
bullpen.
pen, yeah. And then with Urena going to the IL today, there's a good chance that Pennington's going to get a couple of more opportunities there earlier in games, especially throwing Scherzer, DeGrom, and Rocker right now, where you're going to be relying on a bullpen innings for a little bit.
Don't be surprised if a couple of the other guys. Oh my. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's late in the season. Yeah, I mean, it probably won't be guys like Robertson and Yates that are looking for contracts next year.
Yeah.
Leclerc, Robertson, and Yates that are looking for, but there may be a couple more before things end. I doubt we'll see Jake Latz again this season. I doubt that we'll see Josh Sborz again this season. If Sborz isn't back by now, it ain't happening, I don't think, because they were talking 10 days, and now we're talking it's been more like 25. So I don't think we'll see him again.
We're hoping to come back,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm actually right at this point. I want Josh Sborz to get healthy so we can have the Josh Sborz that we had in 2022 or 2023 instead of the one that we got in 2024 that pitched like 14 innings and just really wasn't super effective in those 14 innings either. So yeah, I mean, I want these guys to get back healthy. We've all come to the conclusion that 2024 is going to be a lost season in Rangers lore. And if this does still become what we think it can be, that it's going to be like 2016 for the Astros, right? Where they just kind of like they were putting things together in 15, 16 they missed the playoffs, 17 they win a World Series. So you heard it here first. Manimal guaranteeing next year the Rangers win the World Series.
I love it. Come on, let's go.
Based on nothing but just want.
I love the guarantee. I really do.
The Rangers do lose.
Man.
Well,
we got to be optimistic.
Why not? I mean, they're bringing back the same lineup. They're going to have a better rotation. They're going to have pieces in that thing. Why not feel confident about the 2025 Rangers?
100%, man. 100%. Well, Rangers go back out on the Scherzer start. Scherzer looked good too. I mean,
yeah, they gave up a couple there early, but overall, I mean, not bad. I mean, when he left the game, he had a lead and they were feeling all right. But yeah, I thought Scherzer it was vintage Scherzer, just dogfight out there with every guy that he every person that he faced. It's a dogfight for him. And I love that. I love that bulldog mentality, and he's just out there getting outs, and it doesn't matter really to him right now how he gets those outs. He's just getting outs and trying to put 15 of them on the board before he gets the yanker.
Yeah, I love that when you see I love watching the power guys get like crafty as they become veterans. I love it because it tells you a lot more about their character, like their heart, their mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You just find out that it was, guys have good stuff. Like every 23-year-old that comes up to the major leagues pretty much has good stuff, man. I mean, they all have crazy stuff. It's just the guys that have the mentalities like Scherzer, that have the work ethics like DeGrom and Corey Seager. Those are the consistency like a Simeon. Like those guys are the ones that stick. And you love that about Scherzer. And I really didn't think, even though Leiter had a tough like he came in with a little bit of a rough go, I thought Leiter he's looking
I
more.
thought
I want to bring up, you brought up Josh Spores. Number one, the reason I'm excited about him next year is that I felt like a healthy Josh Spores this year would have been awesome, because he had like a
seventh inning.
Yeah, he just knew that he had figured some things out. The confidence was there. I feel the same thing like now watching Leiter. I feel like he is starting to realize, like, hey, I can get these guys out.
My stuff is good. Yeah. My fastball plays. I got a good slider. Yeah, like it's starting to piece together, and now you got him and Rocker in the same locker room together, and they're feeling confident and trying to compete with each other as far as what they've been doing. And I've been really impressed with Leiter, especially coming out of the bullpen, different option. Different, something new, something that he's not exactly used to, not something that a guy like Jack Leiter's ever done in his career, really, So, so for him to do that, come out, be relatively effective. I mean, look, he lost one. He got one lost in the woods because he was 0-2 in that count and just couldn't get anything close enough to the plate. And when you come back middle to a big league hitter on 3-2, they're going to get you. They're going to get you, and he got gotten. But other than that, everything else was pretty solid. He worked hard, kept them in the ball game. A little bit of a tough break there in the ninth or whatever. But overall, man, the Rangers pitching was pretty good the first 3 nights of this series.
Yeah, 8 innings between Scherzer and Leiter. You had 8 innings, 8 hits, 4 walks, 8 Ks. 4 runs over those 8 innings. I didn't have any problem with it. And how fun was it to see Rocker, DeGrom, Scherzer, and Leiter all in the 3-day period, all kind of like right in the same kind of loop there. And at the end of the day, man, Rangers were in both of those, in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, and I really think they could have won all 3 of those games, and probably should have won at least 2 of them for sure. And I don't even think the ones that they should have won were the ones that they won. So, it's one of those things. Sunday was a wash, man. Andrew Heaney, he's been their best pitcher all year. But you know what? It didn't matter how many runs he gave up. He could have given up just a solo job to Mitch Garver there in that first inning. It was going to hold. Logan Gilbert is awesome.
Yeah.
I can't say, he's just fun to watch pitch. And the Rangers had nothing going. They got a little Zeke Duran base knock there that got wiped out on the very next pitch on a GDIP, So I think GIDP, sorry there. Got my acronyms wrong. But yeah, Kelly grounds into a double play right behind that, so it didn't even matter. They didn't have anything going offensively. Logan Gilbert, man, that guy's just really, really good.
Yeah, both him and Kirby are just awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, and Bryce Miller is going to be a dog too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that what was it, Brian Wu? He's going to be a dog too. They got a whole group of dogs hanging out in that starting rotation, and the Rangers are getting there in that same kind of caliber, I think, with the way they've drafted the last couple of years. And we know, me and you both know, that on the way there's some guys coming, because Toyota, Santos, both of those guys are the real deal. Corniel will be healthy at some point at the end of the season next year, and we'll get to see him somewhere at AAA or AA. So the Rangers they've got bullets coming, and I like what their front office has done, and especially their scouting department, because there's been times in the Rangers organization whenever they make a draft pick or something like that, I just automatically go, that'll turn to shit, and because they how bad it had been for such a long time. And now I don't feel that way as much. And, things will change a little bit more if we, if the guys that they drafted this year in the first couple of rounds go back to the manner that it was, picking late in the rounds again. But I don't think so. I think they've got a little something going here. I think they did a good job again this year, but we'll find out. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, man, we don't have a game to preview tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about what the Rangers can do to, what they should do for the next foreseeable future, but to get ready for 2025. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Also, if you got some questions, anything you want us to
Yeah,
talk
real quick, I just got a Max Scherzer question that we'll have an answer on the show tomorrow. While we were doing the show, I got one come across. So I got one here for Max Scherzer. We'll talk about that. And you know what? Nothing says ratings like talking Max Scherzer 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, and also too, like it might also be a good topic to just kind of see what we think, the Rangers, maybe not names, but what they need to address in the offseason in order to get themselves to make just a few tweaks to get himself back in that championship form. They weren't too far off this year, just didn't have a good things
Just
didn't
the
go right.
firepower at the plate that was there last year just wasn't there at all times this year, and that was a big difference. And that
Yep.
you could see it, and it is what it is. It's already September. Things have wrapped for this year, but you know what? It'll be 2025 before you know it, and we'll be talking about that 2025 team that's going to win a world championship here before you know it.
You dang right we're going to be talking about it. So that's all we got for today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on social media, TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check out the website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
Where you can subscribe to our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys. We recover all things Rangers minor league. Thanks to our farm hands for the support and for all the new farm hands that are jumping in and being part of this this minor league thing we got going, and off season is going to be a lot of fun. Also, thanks for watching us here on YouTube on the Sports Fluent Network. Just check us out on YouTube. Just type in Texas Rangers with the boys. You will find us there. I think that's all I got for the day today for the 300-pound manimal.
Go Lion Eye.
There it is.
24.
There we go. There it is. So for the 300-pound manimal, this is your boy Kev. This has been Texas Rangers with the boys. We are signing out.